Installing and testing Express.js. In this video, we're going to install the latest version of Express.js and use it to create an HTTP server to serve a simple Node.js application. Now, if you're using npm or yarn, you can install Express.js using this very simple functions or command here. The command with the flag that says no save, it just means that if you don't want to save inside the dependency list in the package.json, you issue the flag. Otherwise, you would just do the simple npm install express or yarn add express, and that should do it. If anytime you want to uninstall it, you just do the uninstall by issuing the uninstall express or remove express using yarn. Now, to kind of see what they look like between the two different versions, the one on the left is the framework. It's the application without the Express framework. Compare that with the Express framework on the right side. You see there's a slight difference between the two. The Express framework, you can see, does not use the HTTP module anymore. It comes by default with an Express itself, so it's a little bit different. So as you can see, this is how it works, and we're going to go into the Visual Studio Code and create a simple application using Express. All right, so here in Visual Studio Code, we created one simple Node application here using the Node example here, as you can see. So I'm going to do something similar here. Instead of having the code in here, I'm going to go and create another folder here, and I'll just call it simple Express app, and we'll put our apps in here. So just for to get this started, I'm going to go create a new file, and I'll call it same thing again, app.js, to get this started. And I'm going to go and copy what I have in here, like the public folder. I'm going to copy this, just right click on it and copy, or Control-C, copy it, and put it inside the app here. And we'll modify the code a little bit just to kind of use what they have, what we have in here, and also in here. So that didn't work. Let's try to copy, paste in here. Okay, so I have the same copy. All right. So now, before I go ahead and do all this stuff here, notice in my Node module, there's no Express install. So you want to go and do that first. Okay, so let's go to the command prompt and install Express. So down here, I'm using npm. So I'm just going to basically make sure I go into the demo folder first. Okay, so here I am, and I'm going to go ahead and issue the command npm install express, or you can just basically do npm I. It's a shortcut for express, and that's fine. You can just hit enter, and by default it's going to save into the package.json file. If you don't want to save it in there, you put the command of the flag -- no save, and that will not save it into the package.json. So, but we do want to put it in there, so we're just going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so I'll use the shortcut I for install, and just hit enter. And that should install Express for our app. Okay, so we have added 50 packages. The version we're using is 4.17.1. And if you go into the module, you should see that actually it should be in here. I'm just going to refresh this model here. Okay, so here you have refreshed that. And you see it's has much more than we had earlier. And Express is right in here. Okay. So I'm going to close that module. So now go back into the Express app here. This is the app that we're going to use. I'm going to close this window for now. And so instead of having what we had earlier like this, all this stuff here, I'm going to need just a few things. And I'm just going to copy the ones that I need, like the port number, the directory, and the file for reading these files here. I'm going to copy that over and paste it right in here. Okay, put right below here. And then on top, I'm going to do a constant, and we just going to, load that Express module, because we're not going to need that for we don't need the HTTP anymore, right? Just need the Express for our application server. So we'll just do like an Express. I just call Express again, equals to require the Express package. Okay, so now that comes with the server already built in by default. We just basically instantiate it and we're done. Okay, so to do that, we could do another one here. Say constant app equals express, and we instantiate that. And now that is our server. It's all created you don't have to do the create HTTP dot create server and all the stuff, right? So once we're done with that, then basically we just listen to a port number. So we can go here and say app.listen, just like before, listen to port number. We put a port up there. And again, you can put a function here to output the message. Just say, I'll just put, again, the same as before, the HTTP, and then a localhost and port number. There, so that is our server. Okay, it's much shorter than before. So now all we have to do is output to the browser. So if you go back to the other file, this one here, see all this stuff here, we don't have to do all this stuff here because it comes automatically, and we just listen to the port and we're done. Okay, so we're going to do something similar here. So notice this one here, we have to create the URL using the request object to access the URL property to check where we are on the browser, right? To check these URL patterns, and using the if commands in here so to load the correct HTML. I'll do something similar, except now using Express. You see it's much better and much shorter. So I'm going to need this function down here as well. I'm going to copy this to load the file. Copy that, just put over here. I'll put at the bottom here as well. So we put that there. And so now these if statements in here. Okay, I'm going to copy these over and we'll just modify these so you can kind of see what they will look like using the Express. I'll put it right above here. Okay, so now instead of saying this, we just basically use the app.get commands function, app.get, and a get here is the first parameter is the URL pattern. So what are we getting, right? So how do we get the route? So this is the route I would get. Once a user goes to that route, then we want to load the function, which is the request and response function object, and just like before, we write the command here. So this part goes in here. So basically, I'm going to copy that and put it in here. Okay, so that is this part here, right? So that's one way to do that. Then another way is now we get this pattern here. So again, you just basically go app.get. The pattern is about. When that happens, then run this command. Right? So we're going to render the about page. And so that's done. So you get the idea here, right? So do another one here for the contact, app.get, contact, and then the anonymous function. And we'll put here that we render the contact page, and we'll put that in here. Okay. If it's not at all, we'll just leave that out for now. I'm just going to remove that for now. And then if it is not found, then we'll let Express handle the error. Okay. So as you can see, it looks kind of similar. I mean, the functionality is the same, except the coding is much different. We handle all the pattern here using the get method here, right? So if I save this now and run on the command terminal, and I want to make sure I go into that simple Express folder. And so here I am. This is the app here. I'm going to go and then do a node app. Okay, so we're at port 3000. We're good to go. Let's go to the browser. And I'm going to load localhost 3000. And so there it is. It's the same content, so you can't tell. And we should probably make some changes in here. So I'll go to about and so on. So let's go and do one more thing, just to make sure that it does work. Okay, so make sure if I go, so for example, if I go to the about page, I mean, like if I change this to, let's say, index 2, right? if I save that, it wouldn't work. It would not find index 2, if that's correct. Let me save that. And notice when I save that, if I just go to the browser and run to the home page, it still works because what we did was we modified the source code. Every time when you do that, you have to restart the server every time again, and that's not very efficient. And so you want to do is you want to install another module to help us solve the problem. We'll do that in a later video. But just remember that every time you make changes to your source code, you have to turn off the server and then restart it again. So now it should not work. Back to the browser, and if I refresh it, you see that it has a no file not found because there's no such thing as index 2, right? So just go to show that it does work. And again, I want to fix it back and start one more time. And that should be working just like before again. Okay. All right. So as you can see how easier it is now to create servers using the app, the Express module, without going to in the code here and do all these if and else block inside here to respond to a certain request in the browser. You can do it directly using the get function. And later in the course, we're going to do the post and the put and the delete. All those can be done here using the app.get.put.post in here as well. Okay, so now we know how to create a simple Express application using the Express module. In the next video, we'll create another Express.js application, a much more robust one using the MVC model, and we'll use something called the Express generator to do that for us. I'm going to say it again. So now you know how to create a simple Express.js using the Express module. In the next video, we'll create another Express.js application using a much more robust way. So in the next video, we'll start creating an Express.js application using the Express generator.